got good royals. He looked at that.
Tim, he is coming down the mountain.
Well, I guess I'm gonna try to kill him.
So knowing what you're going to do with your meat before you actually go harvest it
That's number one.
is huge.
Yeah.
Typically, a lot of guys still harvest in the evening, so you're going to be bringing it in at night or just parts of it. So you need to be familiar with your area.
When you're field dressing it, it's a good idea to have somebody on lookout. Once you start opening the critter up and you get that blood smell in the air, that's going to attract bears.
I've investigated with the Game and Fish and Wildlife Service a lot of maulings, and number one thing is nobody was watching when that bear came in from behind him. It's a dangerous game out there. Something's hunting you now.
Drag that carcass away from the gut pile or the point of death. That's always a good idea. I like to try to get those carcasses out in the open so I have a lot of visibility.
You darn sure don't want to take that thing back to your camp. So the Forest Service has done quite the job over the last 20 years of building food poles and meat poles. Get it packed out that night, get it hung up, which is at least 100 yards from a camping area. And so it's got to be 10 feet off of the ground and 4 feet from any vertical next to it. That's the best way we know that humans can take care of food or game meat, because that's the attractants that draw them in. And so if you don't have any reason for them to come in, they don't come in.
And the best thing you can do is get that out of there as quickly as possible, is to get that carcass back to the trailhead and back home.
We killed my bull on the north face, killed it right at last light, and so I just wanted to get him gutted away from the gut pile as best as I could, and then come back the next day to quarter him and pack him out instead of being out there all night quartering him in the dark. We both took off our base layers and wrapped them around the horn.
Sure, by putting that clothing on it, when you come back the next day, you can see if that carcass has been disturbed and if there's maybe a bear on it. Glass that carcass, make sure there wasn't a bear on it, and you probably came from the upwind side so a bear could smell you if there was one around. As hunters, we just need to understand that just because we don't see a bear doesn't mean that there's not one in the vicinity. So making noise and going in slow and taking your time, that's the best thing we can do if we have to leave a carcass overnight.
So say I do come back to the carcass, there's a bear eating on my meat. Do I shoot shots in the air? Do I leave? What do you do?
So in Wyoming, if there's a bear on your carcass, you need to leave that carcass and not get into a dangerous encounter with that bear. Part of the risk of hunting in bear country, and at the end of the day, you've lost your carcass and you've punched your tag. And I know that's kind of hard for some guys to hear, but in reality, that doesn't happen that often in northwest Wyoming.
If you take the steps that we're talking about, you shouldn't have a problem.
Absolutely.
Right? If we were just to leave this bull laying on his side overnight gutted, he'd be sour this morning. You know, even though it's snowing right now, it's in the upper 30s. That's why we propped him up like this, let that air escape. It was too late last night to really get him quartered in Grizz country, so we peed around here. We put our base layers on him. So we just have our stinky base layers just to have that scent up here. And sure enough, I mean, there's not even any birds up here touching them. Well guys, we're gonna get this bull quartered, packed down to the trail about 850 feet. Horses coming in, pick us up. It's been an incredible 6 days out here in Grizzly country. Some great hunting back here. Just gotta be willing to put forth the effort and brave the grizzly bears.